It's about to go.
When your heart is free, it's easy to make a decision. It's clear. You know you have good judgment.
Emily,
Life,
welcome to Sweet Tea and Lemonade, a podcast of four sister friends serving up the tea and slicing up life's lemons with love, laughter, and lots of lessons learned.
Welcome, everybody. We have a great topic today. We are going to be talking about being free to be yourself. So many times we have learned how to put on the mask and to show up as Dr. Rhonda says, your representative comes to the meeting and not necessarily yourself. And today we want to talk about that freedom to feel safe enough to be vulnerable and be yourself. Now, before we jump in, I want to give a little disclaimer. Even though these are amazing women that I'm talking with today, they got lots of wisdom to glean from. Please know that this is just for educational purposes. If you have any medical needs or if you need to see a licensed professional, we encourage you to do that. But this should not be a substitute for your own personal therapy journey. So this is just for us to talk and get some education, glean some wisdom from the women here today. But if you have something else, please make sure you're talking to your doctor and getting that personal help. So,
Absolutely.
ladies, let's get started. What does it mean to be free to be yourself? What is vulnerability? And what is all, we throw these terms around, but what does it mean to you?
I say the words that come to my mind is just like maybe being transparent, being in the figurative sense, just kind of naked and free and open. And just like being willing to, I know sometimes people think about vulnerability like it's a weakness, and it may kind of feel that way sometimes a little bit, but I think just being open, being able to just discuss and share and think about and reflect on what we really are, what we're going through, and just what's happening in our lives. That's just what comes to me.
Yeah, I think about being a complex person, like the people that we all are, like having so many dimensions to myself and being able to truly express that, in safe spaces, So I don't know. I mean, like people sometimes it comes even back from childhood, like, oh, you can be smart, but you can be cool and you can be a cheerleader and you can have all these different things about, you can have this bubbly personality, and then I can be very serious and I can be very analytical. I can be, being able to have all of me. And I know that's a lot, but to be free and to be able to express all the dimensions of myself to, in those safe settings. That's kind of what I think about. And honestly, I don't even know how many spaces do I feel like I can truly be that. I know for sure home is always one, but it makes me think like, oh, I wonder where can I be that vulnerable, that free, myself as a Black woman, all of that. So I don't know.
When I think of vulnerability, I think of not being covered up. So many times when we go out into the world, we send our representatives out. But I think of just going out as your authentic self, being natural, being who you are. And I think, as Nikita said, sometimes it's about being, it's about in your safe space. Where is that? We're certainly not saying to be vulnerable and transparent in front of, say, a narcissist, but having your safe place to where you can be that. And sometimes that safe place may be with a friend, your best friends, maybe with family members. And sometimes they may not represent safe places. Maybe they are unsafe places. And your safe place is with a therapist or with a mental health counselor.
Right. I agree.
I like everything y'all said. I especially like the thought about the freedom to be all of who you are. Mm-hmm. And so many times I think that when we go out, we purposely give people little pieces of ourselves because they can't handle all of who we are. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't think I'm safe enough to show you this part of me, but you can get this little piece. And so we're breaking off pieces of ourselves to give to the world. instead of showing up authentically as all the parts that we are. And
Mhm.
I think a lot of you, both of you mentioned about the safety and all those type of things. But what are some other reasons that keep us from showing up as our full, authentic self in life?
Mhm.
I can think
Honestly, I would
messages
go
that I
ahead, Rhonda.
received in childhood.
Mhm.
And I remember my mother asking, or telling me, act like you have some sense. Why can't you act more like your brother? My brother was quiet and he followed directions. I ask why all the time. And so even though she didn't mean it like that, the inherent message in that sentiment was act. It was not show up as your authentic self. It was not be who you are, but it was act like you have some sense, represent this family well, be more like your brother. And so I think that sometimes we get those messages, they're very subtle, and you may not recognize them when they come up in your childhood, but the messages are very powerful and we pick them up.
Mhm. And I think related to that, I would just say like a couple of things like fear and or like in a setting where it's not safe, right? So we've been talking about safety. So when I say fear, I think fear of, and not to speak for myself, like, right, just fear of being judged, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being just really all of this not accepted, fear of being invalidated, dismissed, and all of that is just unpleasant, right? Just if you think somebody's going, what are you talking about? Thinking it's weird, it's awkward, thinking it's wrong, thinking it's atypical, thinking it's off, like whatever it is, it's just a fear that it's just not going to go well. So as humans, I think we, maybe not everybody, but I know I tend to avoid that. Like I'm just not going to put myself through that. And just not feeling like for whatever reason it is a safe space, and maybe it's not. So like Rhonda, I think Nikita was saying, it's just not a safe space to be all of those parts of ourselves. It's not safe. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think to an extent, I feel like all Black people have to send our representatives in certain settings, period. When you think about workplace, I feel like, it we're definitely different beings when we're around our people that we do trust and that we do feel safe with. But like when you're in a work setting, I feel like we have to put on a certain face, we can't truly be all of who we are because of the backlash. As a Black woman, you can't afford to be perceived as the angry Black lady or the lady that don't want to work with folks, or like you can't afford to have those have your coworkers and leadership and all that think of you in that way. And so we have to put on the act in those settings. And it's almost like it's so easy to like switch. We code switch all the time. And it's become second nature for us. But unfortunately, it's just the truth. Like I can't afford to do that. And it's not just for an individual reason, it's for a collective reason as a race. Like, hey, I know there are people after me that have to come in this setting, and it's important for them to be here in this space. And so I have to protect that space as a person that's in that space, now. So I don't know, there's a lot of responsibility that comes, a lot of things we have to consider when we're truly trying to be our all of who we are, our free selves. So
And I agree with, and the messages that we heard, those were those survival messages. So, the things that your parents taught you about how do you show up in certain spaces, how do you show up at work, how do you show up in public, are very much rooted in this is going to keep you safe. It's going to make sure you get home at night. It's also going to make sure that you're able to continue to go through professional spaces and get, promotions or be put in rooms that they typically weren't put in. And so you learn how to do that to survive. And that was very important. And I think the issue comes on because Nikita mentioned code switching. The issue comes in when we don't make the switch, right? So when we send that acting to these spaces where we need to, but then we also don't realize that in spaces with other people, we're not switching so that we can be open and be free to be ourselves. And then we start seeing maybe some of the issues with like how you're navigating your personal relationships because you're not showing them all of who you are in the very beginning because you've learned how to do this that you forget how to switch it off.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
That
That is so
a
true.
whole word right there.
Right.
And I think that that's what happens. As you were talking, one of the things that came back to my mind, and before code switching was a thing that I knew of, was being told, and many of the African Americans that I know can attest to that, being, called the white girl. You sound like a white girl, you act like a white girl. And I remember it really chapped my mother's hide when she would come into the room and hear me talking to my friends. And I told her, and she said, white people do not have a monopoly on education. And another one of my friends said, her mother said, English is your first language. You speak like that because it's your first language. So somewhere in those messages of you talk like a white girl was some inherent self-hatred, I think, in some of the people who believe who believe what they'd seen in media, that Black people were ignorant or what have you, and had these, and I don't know if that was really true or not, but those were the messages that I was receiving at home. And I was like, I can't go teach a history lesson when I go back to my friends. I will get beat up. So I just got to deal with the hand that I have. When in Rome, do as the Romans. When in the hood, do as the hood. So, and my mother did not appreciate that 1 ounce. What were your experiences? Did you all have those experiences, or were those unique to me?
I feel like I did. If you're talking like any experiences that basically like reinforce, and to go ahead and just say what it is self-hatred and internalized racism, right? Like to say whoever we are naturally, right, is something about that's wrong, bad, not good, invaluable, unworthy, right? So absolutely, like in different ways. It's hard for me. I would have to think some and pinpoint maybe exactly what promoted that. I would have to think about what that is, but definitely it still was this message. And I think as a lot of Black people, I think we can all say for some reason, somehow just living in this country, regardless of what it is, what we saw on TV, what our peers said, what teachers said, that somehow or another, we got the message that some aspect of our Blackness, right, is not okay, it's not acceptable, or the way we expressed it, that something about that wasn't Black enough, or it was white. Somehow we got that, especially for those of us who have pursued and have been very ambitious regarding our education and career.
Yeah.
And you will get the message at different times in your life. And I think it's very well intended. It's kind of like my husband not playing spades and his Black card being questioned, or there are certain things that many people will attribute to Blackness or authentic Blackness. And I know this isn't the direction that we intended to go, but it certainly is a part of, are you Black enough? When Obama was running for president, his heritage of being half Black is questioned. Kamala questioned, and it's just there is something about it, and it predates us, but we're still experiencing the effects of it.
Absolutely. And I think the way it's connected, if I can, because as you all are talking, it's making me think about it. I feel like one way it's connected to vulnerability is, and I could again just speak for myself, is that one reason why I haven't been able to fully be vulnerable and not, like Nikita said, be all aspects and parts of who I am, is because I have to fully accept it and be okay with it. Right. So if I am questioning a part of my identity and I still feel a little bit insecure about it, am I Black enough? Am I woman enough? Am I this enough? Am I whatever enough? Then me questioning who I am in these parts of my identity is going to get in the way of me being vulnerable, because I'm going to assume people have equal or more judgment of me than what I have of myself. So I think that's kind of how, in some ways it's connected.
And when we question that and we don't fully accept it for ourselves, we are more likely to interpret other people, even if it's not a negative judgment, as being a negative judgment. So when that person says like, oh, you don't eat this, how are you Black and you don't eat this? And it's like, if I haven't accepted that I am fully, African-American, fully Black, and I also don't eat sweet potato pie, and those are all, I see your face.
You don't eat fried chicken.
You don't eat fried chicken. So, we all have this thing because, we ourselves haven't made something means something else. And then when you made your own faces, I could have been like, oh, well, let me not tell people that I don't eat or I'd be like, oh, let me tell people that, like, let me try it again. Maybe I just had a bad batch when I decided I didn't like it.
Right.
But, you know, I've accepted that that's okay. Now, there's some other things I'm still, you know, trying to make sure that, like, is that really okay? And those are things I'm more likely to hide, because as soon as you say something, you're going to reinforce my idea that it's really not okay. So I can't let you see it, because what if you make a reaction? What if you make that face? What if you like, oh, I can't talk to you? Then you're just reinforcing that I am missing something in some way. And so that work to be vulnerable starts with us accepting ourselves and what we are, and being okay with all the aspects of what we bring to the table.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Absolutely. 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 That's something. I don't eat fried chicken and I can't dance. You don't eat sweet potato.
And I also can't dance.
Uh-oh.
I believe it. I feel like y'all could dance a little bit.
I don't know if you've been
Everybody can dance. You might not have a little rhythm, but you can dance.
I don't know if you've been watching the previous episodes, but when we come on, everybody always notices that I am a beat or two off.
That's just a delay. That's just a delay.
Yeah. I love it though.
Thank you, Tiffany. Yes, that's just a delay. So we're talking about why we don't bring all of ourselves. I think it is there. When we were very vulnerable, there were some responses that said we are not enough. There were some responses that said we were not good enough, or we were not Black enough, or we were not woman enough, or we were not strong enough. And we internalized those messages. And then when we went back to the table, we had learned a lesson. And the lesson was, don't show that part. Don't show that part. Oh, they're not ready for that part. And so we started to choose people, and we would have, maybe you have your people that you talk Wendy Williams with, if you're a Wendy Williams fan, or your people that you talk science with, or your people that you talk. And I remember people being really surprised at this banquet or something when I won all these awards, because I was the comedian of the class. Nobody thought of me as the smart girl of the class. So people will sometimes be surprised when other people pick up on, when people are talking about you and they're like, oh no, she's not like that. And everything that everyone's saying is true. It's just which part of the elephant did you bite? Did you bite the tail? Did you bite the trunk? But it's all true.
Yeah. Very, very true.
Yeah.
I had the same experience.
Go ahead, Nikki.
Oh, I was saying that I had the same experiences. I remember a lot of my friends were like shocked, like classmates were shocked that I was the valedictorian of my class of 2005, Central High, West Helena, West Helena. Shout out. But they were shocked because I was this very down to earth, funny, cool, person. And they were like, oh, you're smart. Like, what? We didn't know that you were smart. So I experienced that same thing. It's just, it's, and I still feel like to this day, even as an adult, like I have friends throughout various journeys in life. And I feel like depending on where I was at that time, they know a different Nikita, a different piece of Nikita. I think it's very hard when you have people that try, their goal is to know all of you. And it's like, I don't know if you could, I don't know if you can, and I don't know if they can handle that either. So, so that's part of me like, hold up, you ain't ready for that. You don't want me to be vulnerable with you.
And they won't be able to know all of you because you don't know all of you if the truth is told. We're discovering ourselves and we're evolving. And I remember when I was in my 20s and people would say you've changed. And that just meant that I had more education. And they said you've changed like that was an insult. That someone saying you've changed is not an insult. The only thing that does not change and it does not evolve are dead people. But everything else changes, it evolves. It's kind of like, it's like from 8-track to, I tried to play a CD the other day. I brought my Whitney Houston CD and I was ready to like bounce or whatever. And I was like, where's the CD player? The truck, the car, no vehicle had a CD player in it. Where did the CD players go? When did that happen, right? So even our cars are changing and they're not alive. But the only thing that doesn't mind being changed is a baby. Everything else, it seems, mine's being changed,
Mhm.
Mhm.
or mine's change.
Yeah.
But we now know we have to get Rhonda a subscription to a streaming service.
Thank you, please.
Oh,
I don't know when that happened because I normally listen to audiobooks and didn't realize that what was happening. But I was quite upset when I found out I could not listen to Whitney.
oh.
But I feel like some of what you're talking about, I feel like requires like flexibility. Like we have to be flexible with ourselves to kind of know that, yes, I can be. That's why I like, it's like the power of and. People who know me know I'm on that kick of the power of the dialectic, the power of both and not either or. So like what both of you all said, like we can be somebody who, like you say, can be cool, funny, hanging out, chilling, down to earth, and be somebody that's really intellectual, smart, and gifted in those ways and gifted academically. It doesn't have to be either or. So if we can be flexible with ourselves to allow us to be a wonderful blend of all of who we are, like we can be, for some people, we can be a little bit hood, can be a little bit whatever people may call, what they call bougie or whatever else. We can be a little country. We can do all of these things. We can be all of the blackness of who we are. We can be Christian, we can be this, we can be all of these different pieces. And then we got to decide with the people that we're around, are they for them to evolve with us, right? Because we evolve over time. Are they going to be flexible enough to allow that evolution?
Yeah.
Like we have to be flexible, and then are the people in our lives, in our inner circle, can they be flexible with us as we evolve?
And give ourselves permission to recognize that they can't be flexible, and that's okay. And we may not share the same space or the same amount of time that we used to. And that doesn't make either of us a bad person, because some of the things that happen are that, after someone changes, we project something very negative onto them for changing. We project something very negative onto them and associate it with, oh, since she got that new job, or since she became this, or since she started hanging out with this group, she's different. And to some degree, perhaps that is true, but different does not mean bad.
Right.
Different does not mean that you have no place in my life anymore.
Right.
Different means that your place may have shifted, but it doesn't mean that we can't engage each other, just perhaps not as frequently.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, gotta be okay with that. It's like, whew.
And I don't know if you guys saw Steve Harvey. He did some footage or some comedy show, and he said, there's certain people that you should not take with you to the company party because, and we all know what the because is, but he articulated it quite well. Everyone can't go with you certain spaces, and that is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
We've had a good conversation so far, and I want to know, what are those things that we want to leave with, or we want to take with us, or people who are listening to this, we want them to take with them. So what are those last tips or last things that you would want to say about being free to be yourself?
You have to first know what yourself is.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you can't be free to be yourself, and you're going to be accepting other people's projections onto you if you've not explored yourself with journaling, through prayer, perhaps therapy or coaching. So the first act of being yourself many times is rediscovering yourself, because the self that we are bringing to the table now is an injured self, is a self that's insecure, and rediscovering yourself without public opinion and without all the projections onto you that are not really you is really key to begin with. And that may be therapy, that may be a part of a faith community or a part of faith community, that may be isolating and journaling, and there's no one step or one journey to it. There may be different roads to it, but the first thing is, in order to be yourself, you have to know who yourself is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so powerful. And if I could just reiterate something you said, Rhonda, is not accepting people's projections onto you. I know for me that has been very difficult as I've but come to get to know who I am and my authentic self and embrace and accept that. As I've been in that process, I have accepted people's projections onto me. If it's something, especially if it's people that's close to me, not everybody, but people that's close to me that I care about their opinion, their thoughts, and how they perceive me. And it's like, well, I see this about you. You're like this and you're like this. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I am. Then I'm like, no, I have to realize part of that. Let me examine that and look at it. I don't want to completely dismiss it. But if that, I got to understand that the way people see me is through their lens, right? It's through the lens of their own life experiences and their own history. And so they're going to see me and experience me in a certain way. And I might not need to take on all of that, of what they're saying. So I agree with that. I would say for people, and this is what I've had to do, is heal from that. Right. Mm-hmm. So if I acknowledge that's somebody else's projection that they've had and tried to put on me, and I did internalize that, and that wasn't fair for me to view myself in that way. So for me, I've had to heal from some of that and then rediscover who, and with the way I see things, is who God created me to be. Who did he create me to be? And how has my life experiences maybe distorted that? So how can I get to the way God created me to be and fully be okay? For me, it had to be okay if, as I'm being vulnerable and being my authentic self, if people don't like that, if that offends people, if they respond negatively to that, and I know that I've been the healthiest version of myself, then I have to be okay with that. So that's the other thing, is to be okay with people's reactions and responses, and not see that necessarily as rejection, but just see that as a sign or maybe a release from them. I saw somebody post that on Facebook. It's not rejection, it may be a release. I'm like, whoa, release me. Thank you. Release me. I got you.
Yeah, I agree. I think doing the work to heal and get to know yourself, but at the same time, I feel like as a community, we just need to get to a space where we are open to seeing various pieces of people, even if it's, not the common experience to yours or other people that and really just embrace that beauty of really, I mean, the beauty of being Black people. When you were describing all of these different ways that we could be, it reminded me of attending UAPB at an HBCU, because I felt like that was my first experience where I was around a lot of Black people, but it was so beautiful to see how different we were, and it was okay, and so that was a place where I felt like I could truly, truly be free. And that's probably why, we go hard for homecomings, because that's another space. It goes back into that space. Yeah, that space where we can be we can be free, and it's beautiful even now to go back and engage with people like, hey, we were on the struggle bus and we did this back in the day, but look at you, you're here, you're a business owner, you're this, I'm here. It's beautiful. We can see all that and truly, truly appreciate it. And I just hope that we as a whole community can get to a place where we can appreciate, all of the different pieces of who we are.
And let's just stay there for a minute. Let's just stay at HBCUs for a minute, because I remember when it was time to choose a school and I wanted to go to Tuskegee is actually where I wanted to go, Tuskegee or Spelman, but I didn't have any Tuskegee or Spelman money. And I remember the responses that I was getting, that I received from people in terms of believing that I would be limiting my opportunities by going to a place like that, and that I would be, and all kinds of comments that were made that were very derogatory, and that were happening from both Black people and people who were white, but all very well intended. They weren't coming from a place of hate in the way that we think. There wasn't self-hatred, but they weren't coming, and there was some misunderstanding. But what I will say to you is, and I ended up going to a school with only 3% Black, and it was a completely different experience, because I was going to college during a time when Spike Lee's movie had just come out. And I thought my HBCU, my college experience was going to be like that. I can't remember the name of it, but this particular movie that he'd made, and it was completely different from that movie. But my friends that I engaged with who have gone to HBCUs, one of the almost universal traits that they have is that they are community minded. that they're about building up the community, that there is a love for you just because you're Black. They are not afraid of Black people. They embrace Black people. They don't lie to themselves about all Black people being good, but they're not afraid of them. And I think because if I had not been raised the way I was by a mother who rejected the images that she saw on TV, taught me to reject the images, taught me that the people that I saw on the news did not reflect who I was and did not look like the people in my community, taught me that I was not special in the way that people were trying to make me think I was special when they said, oh, you're not like them, you're special. And taught me that, yes, you're going to be in places and you're going to be the only person they've ever seen. But it was my tribe and my family, my core family, that taught me Black is beautiful. Mm-hmm. You are amazing. You know, people saying that you are special or that you are not like them is not a compliment. It is not, and do not receive it as such. Use that as an opportunity to tell them about, and she would list names of people I didn't even know, right? But she would not let me rest on I was special. And some people who don't have not been affirmed, being told that they're special by someone else feels like I'm better, and that's something they've been craving. But I'm very thankful that I had a community of people who let me know that I am special, but I'm not special like the way that they're trying to make me believe that I'm special. I'm special because God made me special. But I come from a community. I come from a people who are absolutely amazing, who are brilliant, and who have birthed ideas, and not to take my perception on from what I'm seeing on TV. And that is what HBCUs do for people. You can see the preppy, you can see the grunge, you can see whatever you want to see on an HBCU campus. And so let me take this opportunity to plug HBCUs. Young people, if you are considering going to college, Harvard, Princeton is not your only option. We have Howards, we have UAPBs, we have Philander Smiths, we have Tuskegee's, we have Morehouse. We have a whole lot of schools that will help you see who you are and help you embrace and love who you are. Back to you.
Thank you for that commercial break. To stop about HBCUs.
I love HBCUs and Black people. I love you too. And let me be clear, that does not mean that I don't love other people. I'm just letting you know I love you too, baby.
Look, the doors of the church are open. Media expert, right? Look, the doors of the church are open. The HBCUs, go to the website, donate.
Offer bucket.
All of it. All of it.
Yes, make sure you look at Xavier. They are one of the best out there for HBCUs. I have to do my own plug since you're doing it. But I think what I was going to say connects to what you said, because I don't want us to wait till we have to college to be able to explore and be okay with who we are. Yeah. I think we have responsibility to allow even the kids in our community to know and to affirm them that it's okay to bring all those things to your table. And I try to be very intentional now with my nephew and with others with saying, it's okay if you like to do something that's totally outside what, we do. It's okay if that's what you want to do. Absolutely, you can do that, because so that he is affirmed in his family, by his tribe, by his people, about all the things, and it is okay. And hopefully we can combat some of those negative messages that we talked about earlier that led to this injured self that's so afraid to show all these pieces because we got this negative feedback that it wasn't okay for us to be that person. But I think several times we mentioned that safety and making sure you have a safe net, a safe tribe for you to explore. As you're rediscovering yourself, you're going to need some support. And so this is the time to make sure you have your girls, your boys, your family, your grandma, the people who are going to allow you to explore, that they are around you. And remember that your vulnerability is really your strength. And our acts of being ourselves is really revolutionary. So we talked about we just hit like on a small piece of the history of why Black people do what they do and how they do it and how we got here with it. But your opportunity to explore yourself and be yourself is an act of revolution. So this really is important that we learn to be okay and accept and put ourselves out there.
And I just need to answer Rhonda Holmes's question. I do not eat chitlins, chitterlings, chitlins, or any such thing. Does anybody on this platform do?
I don't eat chitlins, but my family does. So
I don't even
No,
know.
Rhonda Holmes, we don't eat chitlins around these parts, but we
No, ma'am.
respect those. We respect the right of those to do
You
so.
choose to eat that, yes.
I actually probably have a nice little lengthy list of things that I don't eat. People will be, willing to revoke my black card over. So I got a nice little list. of stuff.
So remember though, that the next time, and we do this we do this, we do this frequently without realizing it. But after you say, we're gonna take your card for not playing spades or dominoes, remember there can be some subtle imprints that you are leaving that you don't intend to leave. So
Mhm.
revisit and straighten it out after you get your in.
Yeah.
And no, it is going to be questioned. That whole spade thing will definitely call into question.
Mhm.
As it should.
Mhm.
But it's
You say-
okay.
You say
don't
as it
question it,
should.
but it's okay. We're gonna come back. We'll still love you. We'll still love you. You're still invited to the cookout. But just remember the rules. Don't sit at the table if you cannot hold your own. So just make sure you
And we won't let you bring the potato salad either after
Oh
you say
my
that.
goodness.
Or the mac and cheese.
and if you can't cook, it's okay. You can still come to the cookout, bring the plates, bring the forks.
I see. So
Bring
we
the
still
plate.
got to roll. You gotta say we still got a place. We can
No,
still
no,
come.
it's lame.
No
There is a
delay. That's
place
all
for
right.
you
No delay.
in
Okay, got it.
plasticware.
Oh my goodness.
Now, this has been a great conversation. We could keep going at this laughing for a long time, but we are ready to wrap it up. And so I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you all for your contributions to our conversation. We hope that you continue to talk about ways that you can be vulnerable and bring your full self to the table. And remember, when life serves you lemons, turn it into sweet tea and lemonade.
Lemonade.
Bye.
All right.